Hello students, today our topic is formalism. Before going into the details of this video, please like, share and subscribe my channel. Okay. First, what is formalism? When we are studying or observing the literary devices like rhythm, meter, rhyme, syntax, metaphor and other narrative techniques, and we are trying to make meaning out of this, we can call this as this as formalism. There there is not much difference between new criticism and formalism. Actually, new criticism is started in United States and formalism was started in Russia. Actually, formalism is associated with three societies. That is OPOJAZ, that is a society for the study of poetic language. Next, Moscow Linguistic Society and Prauge Linguistic Society. All these societies argued that we can make meaning of a text only through observing or studying the literary forms or poetic devices. We need not go into the authorial or linguistic background of that particular work. We have to concentrate only on that literary devices, there is a form, and make meaning out of that. So formalism observes that a poetic language is different from ordinary language. Ordinary language serves the purpose of communication. That is, we are using this ordinary language only for communication. But the literary language is self-reflective. The language used for poetry is somewhat different. So it offers readers a special experience by drawing a special attention to poetic devices. When we are using different types of poetic devices, it gives a different kind of pleasure to the readers. When we are reading a poem, we are enjoying something because of that poetic devices used in that poetry. But this is not the case of ordinary language. Its ordinary language is only for communication purpose. So through using this poetic language, poetic devices and language, we are defamiliarizing language. Defamiliarizing meaning making something different from ordinary language. That is defamiliarization. And so this defamiliarization can be called as making any familiar thing strange. Formalism thus generates meaning from a text through the study of poetic devices. Formalism was developed in Russia around 1915. And French formalism also started in France by this time. So in the exam they may ask that about the chronological order of this formalism. So it was developed before new criticism. Formalism was developed, and it developed by the period of 1915. So first important theoretician is in this one is VictorShvolsky. He made the concept of defamiliarization, and it happened during by the year 1917. He mentioned about this process in the work Art as Technique. In this there is a chapter called Theory as Prose. In this one, he is explaining what is the process of defamiliarization and how a poem is different from ordinary language. In Theory as Prose, he uses poetic devices he says that poetic devices are used in poetry to make the poetic language different from ordinary language. And it is a process of transformation where language is differentiated from ordinary language. So VictorShvolsky says that by using poetic devices we can make the ordinary language into a different thing. This is called the process of defamiliarization. The common communicative language is made different through using many devices, and this is called defamiliarization, making the language something different. In poem, we are using lots of similes and metaphors which give that language neatness in a literary work. We must use literary devices because it renews the reader's lost capacity for fresh sensation. So our perception changes because the devices we look at things differently. What Victor says here is that when in a poetic language we are using lots of metaphors and similes, it gives the reader a different sensation. It changes it changes his perception, his way of looking into the world. It makes him a different one. It gives an enjoyable experience. This is the main purpose of defamiliarization. And VictorShvolsky explained all this in the work Art as Technique, in the chapter called Theory as Prose. Next important formalist is Boris Echenbaum, and Boris Echenbaum said the same things, and his important work is Theory of the Formal Method. Another important formalist is YuriTynyanov. YuriTynyanov started his career as a formalist, but later he along with Roman Jacobson became a structuralist. Yuri, along with Roman Jacobson, wrote the work Thesis on Language, which led to the structuralist theory of thought. So we can call both YuriTynyanov and Roman Jacobson as the predecessors of structuralist theory. In both these writers gone beyond the form, and these two writers started to look the text as a whole. Next, most important formalist is Roman Jacobson. He established the Prauge Linguistic Circle in 1926. He is also an associate of Ferdinand de Saussure. So he started his career as a formalist, but later he became a structuralist. Important concepts of Roman Jacobson are selection and combination, then metaphor and metonymy. There are two ways. There are two ways of language operation. These two ways are selection and combination. Selection here means when we are in our house, we use only informal language. there won't be much formalities in our conversation with our parents or with our children, etc., etc. So we use some free play of language. So there is a selection of informal words. So this is a kind of selection. But when we are in a public place, we use formal language. Or when we are in our office, we use only formal language with our colleagues and our superiors. So this is another type of selection of language. So this type of different variety in this selection is mentioned by RomanJackobson, and he says that this selection is very important in the process of language. This is one pole of language. Another one is combination. Combination is whenever we make a sentence, we may change the order of sentences. For example, in poetry we say, that house I live in. So in poetry we change the order of words. So there is a different type of combination in poetry and in ordinary language. When in a ordinary conversation, the words which are jumbled words, that won't make any sense. So it is through this selection and combination. It is through this selection and combination only language is functioning. Combination here means when we are in poetry, we use different types of combinations. That is called combining two different things. That is called metaphor and conceit. And conceit, for example, in John Donne's poem, we are using the lovers in one side and compass in another side. So two different things are combined together. That is called conceit, and this different things are combined together to make poem or that poetic language more beautiful. So this process is called combination, and only through this selection process and combination of different types of words only language functions. This is what RomanJackobson says. And to get meaning from a text, we need to make this selection and combination of language. Another concept is metaphor and metonymy. So again, Jacobson says that language has this bipolar structure. It operates between the poles of metaphor and metonymy. Selection function leads to metaphor. Again, he says that through using this selection process, that is taking entirely different things or entirely different words to make a sense, we are using this selection process. And metaphor is giving an idea through another word. For example, for some children, school is like a prison. So they may say that school is a prison. What they want to express is that school is so suffocating. So instead of explaining school is very suffocating, they say that school is a prison. So this is called metaphor. So first pole of language is metaphor, which comes by the selection theory. And the second pole of language is called metonymy. Metonymy is part for whole and whole for part. For example, example of metonymy is, we can say that 4 wheels are standing there. So instead of using the word a car is standing there, we are saying that 4 wheels are standing there. So this is called metonymy. This is substituting part for whole and whole for part. So Jacobson says that poetry is metaphoric and prose is metonymic, and thus these two combination gives language a beauty. Thank you.